How's it going, everybody? Super jazzed to have my boy David Oliveira on this call right now. We're going to be talking about what it takes to build wealth for your family, generational wealth through home ownership. I'm on a super high right now. My brother just hit a home run to have his team, Baltimore Orioles, going to extra innings. So we're feeling really good, really excited. Dave, thanks for being on. This is going to be a really good opportunity for people just to kind of hear more about what it takes to get into home ownership. And there's going to be $100 raffle at the end. So make sure whoever is on this call, put their name in the comment section. And then again, for $100 raffle, if we have 5 people, if we have 10 people, put your name in, and then we'll make sure that you we'll send you our information, and we'll send you that $100 Amazon gift card. So all that being said, super excited to have Dave on. Dave, can you just talk more about what you do and give us?
Yeah, definitely. So thanks, Mike, for having me. First and foremost, amazing to hear that your buddy just hit a home run in the big leagues, man. That's a dream come true for many of us. So I don't want to take that highlight away, but going into real estate, right? Going into real estate, I've been investing for over 10 years. Been doing stuff in state, out of state, with short-term rentals, with my own buy and holds. So I can definitely share some insight when it comes to that. And I'm just here, happy, excited to be here to hopefully share some knowledge and maybe guide some of you through that process. It's all about education. I love working with Mike because we like to educate people and just go from there. Hello.
People join on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We had some people hop on. Sorry about that connection.
No worries.
So say that last part again. I didn't get the last part you were saying.
We're just here, excited to work with you all. Hopefully we get to provide some education through this process and be able to maybe guide some of you into that home buying process. It can be a little scary at times, but if you have the right team with you, anything is possible, right? So happy to be here with Mike, and hopefully we can provide some insight through this whole process for y'all.
Awesome. I want to share with you guys just this statistic. So, what it takes to be a millionaire, what that all means. 2/3 of millionaires it's made through the equity in your home, and all the equity is in your home is what is your home worth today versus what you owe on your home. And the saying is the best time to buy a home is 10 years ago or yesterday, right? So you're going to build wealth over time, especially as it's a good inflation hedge. But I just thought that chart was pretty interesting that over 2/3 of net worth comes from home equity alone. And those are some big numbers up there. Dave's a teacher, and it's cool that he knows all that he knows because he can give his students so much information, but they didn't teach us in school, right? There's 3 principles you really need to know to create wealth for your family. And Dave took this lesson on his own. 1, money is not real. It is a tool that can help leverage or help you borrow to buy an asset. 2, everything we're taught growing up about being adults hinders wealth creation. You never talked about how much money someone made or how someone made more money than others. It was just, you don't talk about that. And I think that's bullcrap. I think it's very important to talk about finances, to talk about money, especially if you're wanting to learn more. And that's why Dave and I are here today, is to really help educate you on financial freedom through home ownership. And then the third thing is taxes are a tool the wealthy use and the non-wealthy pay. A lot of people get a really hard time, wealthy, but they use real estate as a way to hedge against inflation and also use as a tax benefit. And we'll go into some of that later on. I think there's a lot of fears about owning a home, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. One is I don't have money. Fact, there's a lot of great first-time home buyer down payment assistance programs. Another is I can't afford my dream home. Dave, I want you to kind of talk about and share when you bought your first condo, how you were able to, it was not a forever home, but how you were able to accumulate appreciation and growth and then use that to go buy your next home. Can you touch on that?
Definitely. So you're actually going to hit a soft spot because if my wife is watching right now, we still don't have our dream home because we're just trying to accumulate those properties, right? So every year and a half, 2 years, the goal, and actually I'm at that 2 year mark right now, Mike, so I might be talking to you soon. Every 2 years, we try to acquire a new property and then utilize some of that equity to take it into another property. Here in San Diego, I've been doing a lot of buy and hold. So then I rent it out, and then I continue to do that on and on and on again. So I've been able to utilize that particular wealth through my homes to create more wealth moving forward. So as a teacher, people always ask, well, how do you do it? Teachers don't get paid much. No, but we got to get creative. We got to have good people on our team to be able to do so. And thankfully, I've been able to team up with some amazing people like Mike to make that happen. So hopefully, go ahead, Mike.
Touching on the 2 year rule. So what Dave's talking about is if you have lived in your home for typically the last 5 years, and you've said that that was your primary residence, claimed it on your taxes, you have up to, if you're single, you have $250,000 that you can take off exempt for capital gains. And then if you're married, you have up to $500,000 that you can utilize as capital gains exemption. So for example, let's say you bought your home for $500,000. If Dave were to sell his home today, he has up to $1 million, right? That $500,000 where he wouldn't have to pay any capital gains on that.
Yeah.
What's the saying go, Dave, on the buying real estate? People are trying to time the market.
Yeah, don't buy to wait. Don't wait to buy, but buy and wait. So, wait for that particular equity to go up, and then strategize to see what's the next move. How can this equity, purchase that dream home for me, or maybe leverage that into a multi-unit or 3, 4, 5 units moving forward. So definitely utilize that, and hopefully through this process, you'll learn a little bit more on how to do so.
Can you talk about, if you're looking to buy a home today, what are the steps that you would be needing to take?
Well, definitely decide to buy, right? That's the biggest thing, is really taking that jump. It can be very nerve-wracking, but once you decide to buy, and then really just assemble your team, finding out what your buying power is, finding someone like Mike who really kind of finds every way possible to get you the most for your home, and then teaming up with someone like myself and my team, Shopping Empty Houses, where we can find a home for you based off the criteria that you want, and then we make an offer. That's the most exciting part, is when we actually get to go shopping. We know what your buying power is, and then we make an offer. And through that process, we inspect, ensure, and make sure that that home is actually good for you. Because at the end of the day, it is a huge purchase, and we want to make sure that you're able to go into the home and just create new memories moving forward. And then hopefully that'll be something that you can pass on to your future generations. But before we get there, right, we have to sign docs and close. We do a huge celebration in our closing, so we want to make sure that we celebrate this particular milestone in your life. So hopefully we get the opportunity to work with you all and be part of that team that really creates change in your life.
Dave and his wife Joanna, they go all out. I mean, they have a really special closing gift for their clients because it is such a big deal. And I think that you do that because you remember how hard it was to buy your first home, right? So you're getting back in that way because you remember being in that position. And it's always good to have that humility of like, hey, I remember when I just started, right?
Yeah, and it's like, it's a celebration. It's at the end of the day, it's a celebration. You're accomplishing something so amazing that we want to make sure that we acknowledge that. Oftentimes, many say, oh, congratulations, your keys are under the mat. No, we go all out, like Mike said, and we want to make sure that we celebrate that and you remember that particular moment in your life forever.
So we'll just touch on a little bit of that stuff, but deciding to buy, why I think Dave and I work super well together is, for us, it's not about what the client qualifies for. It's what the client feels comfortable with in a payment, right? And that's why it's important to speak to a lender and just get an idea on their budget, because at the end of the day, when Dave is sending properties, he wants to make sure he's sending properties with payments that you feel comfortable with. And a home is the largest financial asset. I mean, you're taking on the biggest financial debt, the biggest financial risk. It is very important that you have a team that knows what they're doing. There's a lot of lenders out there. There's a lot of agents out there. Dave and I have been doing this for a number of years now, and it's just good to be connected with people that know what they're doing. I thought this stat was really interesting. So at 3% annual appreciation, which is way below where the mark is at. I mean, right now we're at 10%, but a $375,000 condo, Dave, that would be worth almost $1 million in 30 years.
Wow. Can I interject real quick, Mike? I know you talked about the whole, understanding your payment. One thing that I love to tell my clients is fall in love with the payment before you even fall in love with the home, because you may be approved for $1 million, but if you go and you see that payment, you're like, wow, I don't really want to be paying that, or that's going to put me in a very, tense situation. It's very important to fall in love with that payment. So like Mike said, get pre-approved, find out what your buying power is. So that way you feel comfortable when we go shopping, we find the appropriate home that's good for your family, but also good for your pocket, right? So that's very important for me in the whole shopping process.
Thanks for sharing that. It's such an emotional decision, right? And we understand that. I mean, Dave and I, we have multiple properties. We know firsthand what it's like going through this, and we are here being the rational support team, right? We are going to be with a clear mind. We are going to help educate, and we're going to tell you you're going to be emotional, but there is buyer's remorse. There's so many things that go on. So we totally understand and get that. You want to touch a little bit on just what leveraging means? We've been using that term a lot, but what does it mean to leverage?
Sorry, I cut out a little bit, Mike.
Yeah, when you're talking about leveraging, like I want to leverage an asset, what are we talking about when we're talking about those things?
Definitely. So I can definitely use that, my own personal experience, right? For example, on one of my primary homes, I had an excess amount of equity that I can technically leverage to purchase multi-unit or take money out of that particular property to be able to utilize to purchase a different property in state or out of state. I know Mike has able to help me out with that when I purchased a West Virginia property. So I was able to leverage a property here to purchase a property in West Virginia.
You're using the bank's money, right? Use someone else's money to help you secure a really good financial investment. Is every home a good investment? No, it has to make sense for you and your budget, but that's really where you have a person like Dave that can help you understand, hey, am I making a good decision or not? Yeah. A lot of people out there that say, hey, I would rather rent than buy. I know Gary Vaynerchuk, quite frankly, Grant Cardone has come out and talked about how there's, it's not a bad idea to maybe rent, and maybe I use that money to invest in the markets. I just want to show you guys this, which this numbers are very low. But if you take a $2,000, let's say you rent the rest of your life for the next 30 years. At $2,000 for the next 30 year, guys, you're going to be paying your landlord over $750,000. After 30 years, not only are you going to have a home that's owned free and clear with all those tax benefits, but you're going to have the potential of having almost $1 million asset. And you can use that money to retire on, to rent out and cash flow. Just a lot of great things with home ownership. Dave, you've been doing some really special things, just helping your clients get their offers accepted, helping people find market, properties off market. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So it's very important, especially in this particular market when, it's very competitive. Interest rates are going up. It's important to build relationships, not only within other agents, but also other teams. So whenever we want to submit an offer, they already have a kind of like a face to a name. They understand who we are, where we come from, and where our intention lies, right? My goal is always to provide my client the best home for them and their particular situation and their particular family. So it's very important that also the people that you're working with, some of the agents that you're connecting with, communicating with, understand that, and they also kind of get those, like the heartfelt kind of emotion, right? To understand where you're coming from, so that way your offer not only can be, looked at, but also accepted. So that's a big thing that I like to do, relationship building, just like what I do with my clients. It's very important that you feel comfortable working with me. That's why I never have any of my clients sign a contract, because at the end of the day, if you don't feel comfortable working with me, I want to make sure that you have the freedom to go somewhere else, right? I've never had a client leave, which is great, but I want to make sure that you feel that power. Also understand that, you know what, I want to work with you, and I want to see this through. So that's very important for me in my book.
Thanks, Matt, for the comment. Thanks for being on. Thanks for being live. Super helpful. You just are a genuine guy. You know, if they want to choose, you're not going to push someone into something that they don't want to do. So I super respect about you, and I know that firsthand.
Yeah, one thing that that I also like to point out, and this is like the biggest misconception as a realtor, right? It said, well, how much am I paying you? As a buyer, you can work with me for a year, 10 years, 100 years. You'll never have to pay me anything, right? Because that's always done through the selling point. So we can work forever, and hopefully you'll feel comfortable enough to work with someone like myself and with Mike, and you'll see how, like Mike said, how genuine we are, how truly we want to help. That we're here for the long run.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, man. You know, like there's always a bad rap sometimes if you're in a commission business, but sometimes the commission business is the best because they're going to work their ass off to help that client. If they don't work their ass off and they don't make the client happy, there's no reward. There's no one gets paid at the end of the day. So I really appreciate you saying that. And as a buyer's agent, yeah, they're getting paid. You're getting paid from the seller. So it is nice to have your first home. You don't have to worry about paying for that. Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
Really what my job is, guys, is I'm a mortgage loan officer. So I help originate loans. We work with over 300 different investors. We have over 300 different loan programs. I think why Dave likes working with me is, yes, we have good communication. We can close loans quickly, but we really just try and put things in layman's terms so the buyer is able to really understand what it is that they're getting themselves into. And there's a lot of lenders out there, and we wouldn't be a top 1% originating team if we didn't have low rates or a lot of different loan products. So we just really try to make sure that we hone in on the follow-up, the communication. I mean, Dave and I mean, we were returning text messages at 3 a.m, right? So we're on it. And let me answer this one question. Are there any red flags that could arise with an agent that homeowners should be aware of? Are there any red flags that could arise with an agent that homeowners should be aware of? Good question. Dave, you want to take that one?
Yeah, definitely. I think personally for me, and I'll talk about my experience as a home buyer, not necessarily, and I can share also as an agent, but as a home buyer, it's if my agent knows that I'm approved for, say 700,000, and he's just sending me 700,000 homes, that's for me, that's a little red flag, because first I want to be able to have that conversation. What does my payment look like? Have that conversation with your agent and your loan officer and see if that payment is actually appropriate for you. If it's not, then maybe, your agent will understand that $700,000 homes is not appropriate for me, and we need to start feeding something else. I've had experiences where agents would want me to buy at my max, and I wasn't comfortable with that. So that was a huge red flag for me. For me, it's always like communicating with my clients and see what is appropriate, what makes sense, and what is not going to make you house poor. And that's a conversation that Mike and I always have. Are they going to be house poor? Yes, no. Maybe we need to reevaluate this in a few more months, because I'd rather have you as a lifetime client than just a one-time client where you go in, you go out, and maybe you're not able to make that payment. And I really don't want that for my client. So that's a huge red flag for me as a home buyer. And that's something that I keep in mind as an agent as well.
Thanks for the question, Joseph. Thank you, Davey. Just a quick reminder too, guys, we're about halfway. So please comment wherever platform you're on, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Just please comment your name so you get entered in that drawing. So the biggest thing that anytime Dave's meeting with a buyer is really get in touch with a lender, right? The process is very streamlined. It's very simple. It's just like when you go to your doctor. If you're trying to get a diagnostic on something, you got to put in your information, right? Take a look at your credit score. We got to take a look at what debts you have. We got to take a look at your employment. We got to take a look at your residency that you've had the last 2 years. So there's a lot of things that we take a look at. And then once you submit the application, we request documents based on your employment, right? So some things to just be mindful of. If you're a teacher, if you're a police officer, you're going to have 30 days of pay stubs and you're going to have a W-2. If you are self-employed, if you're a business owner, Davey works with a lot of investors, you're going to be a business owner. It's it's going to be a little bit more different with the type of documentation that we need. So it's going to be your personal tax returns, your business tax returns, your K-1s. So it's just looked at a little bit differently. And then the most important thing too is going to be your bank statements, right? Depending on the type of loan program that you're doing, if you're utilizing down payment assistance, you may only need $5,000 to $7,000 in the bank. And for us, we make sure that we would never put you into a loan that I wouldn't do for myself. And that's really where we get the application, the documentation. Because the first thing I get asked, Davey, is, Mike, what's your rates? And my joke is it's 0% at 1% down. And they're like, what? The joke is there's so much that goes into a specific interest rate. So for me to give you better feedback, I got to get an application on you. I got to look at your financials. I got to see your debt to income ratio, the type of property you're buying. So there's a lot that goes into it. Any lender that spits out a rate to you, just be conscious of that, because there's costs, there's fees. How long is that lock term for? So there's just a lot that goes into it that you want to be careful of. I really try to take a holistic approach. So I really try and take on a financial advisor. I have a financial planner that I really like, that I trust, that I refer a lot of business to, that I kind of bounce ideas off of. I have a CPA that I really like, that Davey actually helped connect me with, that I can bounce ideas off of. We have a team. We have a suite of teams. So we really get a better idea on your budget and what's going to be your 5-year goal. You know, we're really not trying to get people as clients for life today. We want them to be clients for life, right? We want them to be raving fans of the work that we do so they can refer their friends and family, because we're all 100% referral business. So we look at that holistic approach. We're looking at your debts. Maybe instead of putting $5,000 extra on your down payment, we use that $5,000 to pay off your debt, to lower your debt to income ratio if you get more bang for your buck. We're looking at all those things. If your credit isn't where it needs to be at, we take a look at a credit simulator to improve your credit score. So we're doing a lot of different things. I just got to give a shout out to my boy Lou right now. That is my homie G. So glad that you're watching. Question from Matt DeRozier. Besides having properties for investments, do you also invest in any other businesses? Dave, the entrepreneur. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, I'll touch a little bit on that. So like I told you, I'm a teacher by trade, right? So I'm a teacher. I tell people I'm a teacher by day and an investor by night. So I've been investing for quite some time, but I dabbled in a little bit of everything. I've bought and sold cars. I currently have an LED dance floor business who actually my brother branched off into the Bay Area now. So we're branching off into the Bay Area and hopefully other parts of California. My wife runs a floral business as well. So she has a floral business. So we're always finding ways to get additional income to reinvest into real estate, because at the end of the day, real estate has been such a blessing to us in many ways, whether it's purchasing properties out of the country, out of the state, and purchasing multiple properties in San Diego. So currently right now, I am also building some ADUs through the help of through Mike's renovation loan, which I can also tap into in a little bit. But that's just getting creative, finding ways to make it happen. And that's something that I'm very, very fortunate enough to have a very supportive wife that allows me to do so, because she says I have undiagnosed ADHD. So I'm always all over the place, but with a goal in mind to, become, financially free. So.
Yeah, Dave, I'm not just saying this because he's on the call, but Dave is, he comes from humble upbringing, and he just wants to work out. He just wants to work harder than anyone else out there, and super appreciate just knowing him as a friend and also a partner too. Thanks for answering the question, Dave, and thanks for asking the question, Matthew. What goes into your mortgage payment, right? So yes, you have the interest rate. That's the money that you're borrowing from that specific investor or bank or lender. And then you're also paying property taxes. And then on top of property taxes, typically if you put less than 20% down, you're going to have your mortgage insurance. And if it's a condo, you're going to have HOA. I always joke with people, you can have the lowest interest rate with the wrong type of loan, Dave, and that can cost you tens of thousands of dollars. So there's so much more than just the rate. There's a lot that goes into what the right loan program is for that specific borrower. There are some tax advantages. I am not a CPA, but you are able to write off the interest rate that you pay back on your loan. And then you're also able to write off your mortgage insurance if you make under a certain threshold. And then the taxes and the insurance is kind of bundled in with your local state tax up to $10,000. And all a deduction is let's say I make $50,000 a year. I'm a teacher. I make $50,000. If I own a home or I have different tax benefits, if I have a $10,000 deduction, I'm only having to pay my taxes to Uncle Sam based on $40,000. Credit's a big deal, guys. This is a really big deal, especially if you're trying to buy a home, if you're trying to buy a car. So let's just really quickly talk about the things that make up your credit. You're going to have different types of credit, right? Revolving, that's your credit cards. Installment loans, those are loans that you're going to have to pay back over time. That's like a mortgage payment. That's a car loan. That's a student loan. Your payment history. If there's any moms or dads or parents right now, please, I don't care how old your child is. I mean, typically they got to be old enough to pay for things, but make them a co-authorized user. Give them something so every time they make a candy bar purchase or anytime they buy anything, you're using, every time you use your credit card and pay that off, that's helping increase their score. I get so many kids that come to me 20 to 25 and they're like, Mike, I don't have any credit. Start now. Make them an authorized user on your account so they can benefit from the purchases and the good credit history that you're doing, which is going to help them over time.
Yeah, and I can definitely chime in on that, Mike.
Yeah, please.
Really quick. No, I'm a product of that as well. I was able to become a authorized user in one of the cards, and I actually just inherited 17 years of credit, which was amazing. My score jumped up like 30, 40 points. So I can definitely, attest to that. It's amazing. If you have the liberty to do so, definitely that would help out any of your family members or children.
Utilization, the amounts owed is huge, guys. Basically, what it takes to look at is your credit limit. Let's say you have $1,000 credit limit. You typically do not want to borrow more than 50% of that limit. So if I borrow over $500 on that specific credit card, that's going to start to go eat into the utilization. If you keep it for 500 or less or 50% or less, that's going to help increase your score because you're showing lenders that you're responsible with the credit that's been given to you. I see so many people that have a $10,000 credit limit, Dave, but then they have a $10,000 balance. That's 100% utilization. That's not really showing that you're being responsible, and you got to start somewhere. You got to have a credit card. You got to have something, guys. If you were going to lend someone $500,000, you would want to know how they've been utilizing the credit that's been given to them prior, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very important to start now. And then when that time does come, when you're ready to buy, you're putting yourself in a good position. We'll touch on a renovation loan. So Dave, there's not a lot of inventory right now. You guys have a very, very, very difficult job. You got buyers, but they want a specific type of home. And there's not a lot of homes out there. A renovation loan is a great option if you love a neighborhood, but maybe love the home, but you're able to finance the cost of making that home into your dream home through the loan. Dave, you've done this firsthand. You kind of want to touch on that specifically?
Definitely. So like Mike mentioned, we were looking for our home, right? We were looking for a home that had all the different bells and whistles. We wanted a pool, we wanted a cabana, we wanted the whole shebang, but we just couldn't come across that particular home in that hot market, a year and a half, 2 years ago. So what we did, we purchased a home that we felt, good in. We gutted the whole thing, but then now we went in there with a renovation loan to put in that pool, to put in the barbecue, and also to put in an ADU in the back. So now it's turning into a multi-unit opposed to just a one home. So that's how I was able to pretty much increase the doors in my portfolio by utilizing that particular strategy.
Thanks for saying that. It's just, you don't have to have the perfect home, but you can make it the perfect home and finance it. A lot of people have a hard time having extra cash right now. Times are hard. So you can use the loan to finance the cost of those renovations. Matthew, sorry for all the questions talking about starting a small business or any business at that. What is some advice for getting started? This is for another podcast. Dave, you want to talk about when you started your businesses? And
so I didn't touch base on some of the other businesses I've had. We had a dress shop in TJ. I used to run a referee business for sports refereeing. So it's just a matter, if you have an idea, run with it. Obviously plan it out, run with it. But in any particular business, you're always going to come across some roadblocks. Just find ways to solve it. And there will be some failures, but don't let that bring you down. Use that as a learning experience to bounce back, come back stronger, and then continue with whatever drives you and drives that passion. I think that's been very, very key to my heart. It's been the reason why. And another thing too, that figuring out what your why is. My why has always been my family. They've always driven me to be better. And now I have my daughter, so now that kind of drives me more. So figure out what that why is, and trust me, you'll find a way to make it happen. Regardless if you fail or not, you're going to keep on going and keep on pushing, and you will be successful.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Dave. So when you guys are using the renovation loans, you're able to utilize the 3 major products. This is not like a private money loan that has a really high interest rate or costs a ton in origination fees. These are normal loans, guys. You can do an FHA renovation loan. You can do a VA renovation loan at 0% down. You can actually buy a multi-unit, up to 4 units with putting 0% down, as long as you plan to occupy one of those units. And then you could do a conventional renovation loan, which is what Dave and Joe utilized. So Dave, we are coming into a market that isn't a buyer's market, because for there to be a buyer's market, we'd have to have over 6 months of inventory. We're not even close to that, but it's a little bit easier for buyers that have low credit or maybe need to utilize down payment assistance, because those 20, 30% down buyers, they're not here right now. Right? They've kind of already bought their home. So can you talk about just what you're doing to help clients with their monthly payment and helping with closing costs?
Definitely. So like I mentioned earlier, it really comes down to that relationship that you build with the seller agent. Something that our team does really well is we study the seller, we study the seller's agent, and then we just study the market, find out where the market is at that point in time, how are they selling their homes, and what can we negotiate at that particular time. Closing costs is a huge negotiating piece right now that a lot of sellers are providing for our buyers. So that's something that we always want to advocate for, because then that puts more money in your pocket to go in and renovate your home. So if we're able to secure that for you, that just gives you the liberty to do something more for your home and put a little your own little personal touch, right? So that's one of them. I know that Mike has been great about figuring out the buy downs, which is another strategy as well, where we can ease into that payment later on, right? Figuring out how we can bring down your interest rate through someone like Mike. So that way you have a cheaper payment the first year, and then the second year you kind of ease up a little bit more. And then on the third year, you get your actual monthly payment for your home. So there's different strategies we can utilize. And we're always here to try to find out the best strategy for you and your family.
And there's something to be said too, Dave. You could be the best negotiator, you could be the best at contracts, but I'll tell you what, guys, it pays to just have a good reputation and be nice. Like, really, Dave has been able to get his clients' home offers accepted at below asking, just because the listing agent likes him. He's a likable guy. He has good communication. They have an expectation, because at the end of the day, they're helping a family member too, right? That seller needs to have that reassurance that this buyer is good to go. And the agent associated, the lender associated, they're good people. They're good. They're professionals. They're going to get the job done. So there's a lot more than just being the master contractor, the master negotiator. You got to be likable. And Dave has really built reputation very quickly in the San Diego market that he's a likable guy, and he's getting his name out there, which is really cool. I don't want to touch too much on buy downs. We can talk if you guys have any questions on that. Heather Peterson, sorry I'm a bit late to the party. We'll full bit. Yes, absolutely. And then Heather, feel free to ask any questions too. And thanks for reaching out. So these things are obvious, guys, but I see it time and time again. If you're really looking about buying a home, do not buy that car. Do not finance that car. If you're looking to buy a home, do not quit your job. If you're looking to buy a home, there's things that you just need to prepare for, even if you are a year or two out. And that's really where you got to sit down with your significant other, or look at yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, what is important to me? Is it important to drive that fancy car but pay rent to the landlord? Maybe, right? Everyone's different. It doesn't make you a bad person. We're just trying to figure out ways that we don't have all these bills added up, right? And a mortgage is a serious thing, but you're definitely building wealth through that. But just keep in mind, guys, if you're in escrow on a home, do not finance anything. Do not finance that furniture until after you close. Do not have your credit ran multiple times. Do not take out new lines of credit. Do not have large deposits going into your account without talking to your lender. These are all really serious things, guys. At the end of the day, the underwriter is the one that's making that final decision. So we got to make sure that we're coaching and doing the right things on that front. So the mortgage part is not sexy, guys. Dave is the sexy man. He talks about the homes. That's the cool part. Dave, kind of give us like some recent clients of yours. What are they talking to you about when they're looking for a home?
So it really depends on a family by family basis. But the biggest thing and the biggest question that we ask is, what community do you want to be in? What kind of schools are you looking for? We take into account all your needs and try to find that home that's actually appropriate for you and your family. So that's something that's very important for us. Another thing that I do on my end is identify if that community, how well are the homes selling, what are they going for, and how does your budget, your buying power fit within that particular area. So that way we can strategize to get you your home, your dream home, at a good rate, right, and a good deal. So if we can identify a home that's off market and get you even a better deal, which is something that we've been doing a lot this last 2 weeks. We found 2-3 families off market deals that got homes well below market, and we were able to secure them without even having to go onto having that listing go live. So that's something that's very important in our initial consult, is to identify what is important for you and finding that appropriate home for you.
And that's the fun part, right? I mean, square footage, beds, bath, you want a backyard, are you trying to build an ADU? Mm-hmm. I mean, those are all things that Dave, he has the access to all the inventory for that. So when you're making up an offer, let me just touch on why you're different. I'm going to sell Dave because I work with a lot of agents, guys. Dave is someone that cares, and he's going to be the guy that is going to get back to you, right? He probably is worried right now because he has clients texting him. He's like, I got to do this seminar with Mike. So he's just that kind of guy. I'm that kind of guy. What I like about Dave, guys, is he has done this firsthand. He has experience in adding rental income and value over time because this is an investment. It's not always having the flashiest house. It's what is about that house that I can utilize. Can I house hack? Can I rent out some bedrooms to help offset that mortgage as prices keep going up and mortgages keep going up? So there's different ways that we can strategize on that. He has access to great contractors. So if you're trying to find a home that's maybe not, turnkey, you may get good value, and Dave's going to save you a lot of time and save you a lot of money because of the access he has with great contractors. Lou's always stealing the thunder as I'm hyped up, but we got to answer it. Can you speak on the importance for prospective buyers to consider and answer for themselves when deciding to buy a move-in ready home versus fixer-upper homes, benefits, costs, etc.? That's a great question. Do you mind if I hit that one, Dave?
Go for it, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for asking that, Lou. Looking forward to this weekend. So it's where your budget's at, right? There's a lot of people that do not want to take the time to live into a home that is not totally move-in ready, right? Like they don't want to have the contractors coming in and out. That's not for everyone. I think, Dave, what do you think is selling right now? Is it the move-in ready homes that it's totally done, renovated? I mean, is that still where the market's at?
It's a combo. It really comes down to, what the needs are. I do have some clients that want just move-in ready, want no hassle whatsoever. And others who really want to get that value add at the end. So after the renovation, they're walking into another 150, 200,000 equity. So it really depends on the particular family, but we're seeing both.
Lou, the person that asked this, he got a great deal up in NorCal, and his situation's different, right? He's using some of that capital that he didn't deploy into the down payment that he's using to renovate the home because he got a home at below market value. He got a deal, right? But he's willing to put in the sweat equity to build that up. Everyone's going to be at a different place in their lives. If you have a family, you have kids, you may not want to deal with that, right? But if you can, I think you're going to get a better result in the end. And then again, if you do that at sweat equity, you can always flip it and turn it around. Thanks for asking the question, Lou. Was late. Will it be available later? Yes, absolutely. Thanks for being on, Selena. Really quick, we'll just touch on this. So when you guys are making the offer, it's important that the agent and the lender are on the same page. Hey, what is the price that we're going to be offering? What are the terms? Are we doing a 21-day close? Are we doing a 10-day close? Are we doing a 30-day close? Dave is going to reach out to that listing agent, guys, and find what is important to that seller. Is it quickly, or is it maybe having a longer escrow so they can find a replacement property? That is important. You can't just assume that having a 10-day closing is the best thing. That may not be the best offer. And Dave and I have gotten offers accepted below asking because we were able to remove the loan contingency, because we can underwrite the loans up front so there's no curveballs going through escrow. I think that's why Dave really trusts me, is we make sure, guys, that we get the information up front. We don't just pre-approve the loan. That's just the lender taking a look at your credit and your income, which is great. But we have it seen by an underwriter even before we go into escrow, because it's the underwriter's decision. So we'll know, hey, let's hang tight. And then if we have that loan underwritten, we can remove that loan contingency. And that's going to be more competitive than maybe a higher offer that hasn't removed the loan contingency or has longer terms on the contract. Did I miss anything on that, Dave? Or
No, I definitely want to highlight one of our last offers that we just closed, Mike. We went in, our offer wasn't the highest, but we said we can close in 14 days. And not only did we close in 14, we closed in 12 days. So I got to give Mike props on that one, man. That was amazing. So amazing that I was able to negotiate with the seller agent. Hey, if we close in 14 days, you buy my buyer a new stove. He bought the stove because we closed in 12. So that was pretty cool.
That's super cool. Yeah, you definitely got to have the stove to get financing.
Yeah,
got to have a heat source. Okay, so Dave, talk to us about what's that CMA word? Like when you're writing up an offer, we don't always let the client tell us what to write the offer at because you're the professional. So when your professional opinion is based on writing up an offer, what are you taking a look at?
So when we're running that market analysis, right, we're looking at the square footage, how much are the homes selling nearby, and then taking all that into account. So that way we're able to make the most competitive offer, and also an offer that's not going to feel like a slap in the face, right, to the seller, because if they think that, then they're just going to knock it out. However, that's one piece. The other piece is just really building that relationship, that follow through. I had an offer be accepted because I constantly follow through. And you'll be surprised how many agents will not follow through, will not communicate with you. So it's very important to have someone kind of championing on that side to be able to advocate for you. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we get you in your home.
So we get our offer accepted. Really exciting, but the work is not done. What is a property inspection?
So typically, we have a property inspection. A professional inspector comes out to really check out the house, flip it upside down to make sure that this house is actually appropriate for you. You're going in there, purchasing pretty much putting down a large amount of money to purchase a home that you hope to make your forever home or add to your portfolio. But if something comes up within that inspection that doesn't seem right, we have the liberty to pull out and also secure your deposit. So that way you're not losing your deposit in that process. So part of the contingency, like Mike said, is having an inspection contingency to ensure that everything's okay, we're good to move forward, and then we're able to get you just a step closer to your future home.
So there's a lot that goes into escrow, right? So the lender is helping appraisal. The appraisal just has to make sure if you're getting a loan, the bank wants to make sure that the money that they're lending on is at that fair market value. So you have a buyer and seller that come to an agreement on a price, and then you have a neutral third party that's a professional that's based on what their appraised opinion is. It's a professional opinion, right? You're going to need to make sure to get homeowners insurance, which we help out with. And then you also have title and escrow. And what escrow is escrow basically handles all the wiring of the funds. I mean, we're talking, six-figure money here. So it's super important that you have a professional that is really managing all that. The lender sends that money to them. They'll send that money to the seller, so there's a lot of different things that escrow does that really facilitates the transaction and makes sure when you buy that home that there's no liens on that property, because if you own that home, you own that home, and they got to make sure that there's no liens and the title is clear. And that's very important. And then we party, right? We closed, and that's a really fun time. And really what closing means, guys, is you're going to sign your life away. You're going to sign that mortgage. I'm kidding. but you're going to sign those final paperwork with a notary, and then that's going to get sent back to the lender, and then the lender is going to send that over to escrow, and then when the loan funds, that money gets wired over to the escrow company, and then the title records, meaning that if Michael Stowers and David Oliveira bought a house, we would be recorded on title. The loan funding does not mean you have ownership of the property yet. It's when it actually records. And when it records, that's your name on title. And then you're a homeowner. And then it's a really cool thing. And that's really where the fun happens. And I just want to end with this. Haley, you want to come down and we'll do the raffle? This is kind of where we're at right now, guys. If you have questions on like, hey, where's the market? This is from someone that is the chief economist. So in terms of the current housing cycle, we may be at close to the bottom in contract signings. So year over year, activity has gone down quite a bit. But this month's very modest decline reflects the recent uptick in mortgage interest rates. And what I'm telling people is this, guys, there's a great opportunity to buy right now. There really is. You know, there's not a ton of buyers. There's not a ton of competition like there was before. You're going to marry the home, but you're going to date the rate. And Dave has refinanced his home plenty of times. And there's going to be a time where the feds can control inflation and interest rates will get brought back down. And you can always refinance. But what do you think is going to happen when inventory is still at a very low number and interest rates come back down? Buyers are going to come back to the market. It's going to go competitive and you're going to see that price shoot up. I am putting my money where my mouth is, right? I believe in real estate. I was like, am I saying that right? I believe in real estate in San Diego. I really do. I know home prices seem expensive, but I'll tell you what, you talk to someone from San Francisco or Los Angeles, our homes look a lot cheaper. Oh yeah. Okay. And sorry, let me go one more.
I think
Dave, this is our contact information, guys. Dave and I, this is our full-time jobs. You know, we love doing what we do. We're really passionate. Hopefully you guys can see that the way that we talk. Dave, any final thoughts before I do the $100 Amazon gift card drawing?
No, just like I said, thank you all for all the wonderful questions. If there's anything else that that we can help out with, just feel free to reach out. I think I might have my old cell phone on there, Mike. So maybe if I can put my new cell number on.
Coño! That is your old number.
Yeah. But besides that, you know, reach out. If you all have Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram. You can check out my closings. Like Mike said, they're a total party. We like to celebrate you all, and hopefully I get an opportunity to work with you. Even if I don't get to work with you, if you ever have any questions, just shoot me a DM, send me a text message. I'm more than willing to provide some feedback or some insight on my own path and my own experience. So I'm here as a resource. Like I always tell Mike, there's plenty for everybody to eat. So I want to make sure that, you know, I'm serving a purpose to provide some feedback and some guidance for people who may need it at times.
I got my boy Matt. He's a police officer, police department over in Chula Vista. Chula, that's the place to go.
Yes.
All right, guys, we're gonna do the drawing, and I want to make sure that everyone can comment before I make the drawing. We got 20 people on the call. $100, guys, $100. That could fill up your gas tank. That could be a nice dinner date for the missus, or mister. Is Jack in the Box still doing $2 tacos? Or that's what is that? Yeah. So a lot going on here. So I'm gonna do this. I want to make sure. Okay, so we got Selena. Heather, thanks for that. No, you didn't get that one. All right, Dave, thanks for being on the call too.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
I will send you the Amazon gift card. You just shoot me over your email, and then I'm going to send you Dave and I's contact info. Cynthia, gosh, I almost was drawing, and Cynthia's on, so we got to add her in. Cynthia. Joanna, thanks. You know, I got this really good looking guy next to me. His name's Dave. I think you guys would be a great match. Joanna is David's better half.
Yes, she is.
Okay, so we're going. All right, guys, I'm gonna give 5 more seconds here. Joanna, you're laughing. I'm a funny guy. All right, I want to make sure everyone just get some extra time to get in, because sometimes learning about how to buy a house isn't always the most fun, but we try to make it fun in the end. Matt, thank you for that. I appreciate you being on. Thank you. I'm gonna give it 30 more seconds. 30 more seconds, and then I'm gonna pull out of this. I'm also connected. Sandy, this is what we're talking about. Here we go. We got Sandy already on there.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle Harris. That is a great guy right there. Thanks for being on. All right. I think we're going to be good to go. Dave, we're good to go?
We're ready to go, baby. Let's go.
All right. Thanks, guys, for joining. I don't like being the guy that pulls the name. I feel like I let everyone down.
Oh, we got Louie in there.
Louie. Heather Peterson. All right. Oh, yeah. Heather Peterson. Great job. $100 for being on.
Congrats, Heather.
Wonderful. Also, shout out to Kyle Stowers on his first major league. Woo! Sick.
Yeah.
That was so cool. That was so cool to see that. He needed that. He needed that. That's my boy Lou. Put him on. Put Luis on. He's firing me up right now. Put him on. Heather. Yeah. Yep. Didn't let me down. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. And then, just message me your email address and we'll shoot that over to you. Joanna, congrats. Kyle, congrats. Dave and I could be on this forever. We'll have our own little talk show. It doesn't have to be about homes. We got it.
Nope. Get me going. Don't get me going, baby.
Don't get me going, baby. All right, guys. Hey, really appreciate your time. Dave, thanks for your time. Appreciate you being on it.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, guys. Have a good one.